I agree it's not a superficial issue, and I believe that everyone should struggle with the question, does God exist, at some point in their lives. Now surely all people in the Western world will do so, because the concept of God is everywhere. It's ubiquitous. It's all around us. So we can't avoid dealing with the hypothesis of God. And I think that even in the remote parts of the world where people have never heard of God, I think it's a good idea to educate them about the concept. Tell them, you know, there's a big world out there, and there are some people who believe in God and some people who do not. And then ask them to think about it and make a decision about it. So, yes, I would say that atheists, theists, and those who have not yet decided, or those who are ignorant of the concept of God, should become more knowledgeable and investigate the question, does God exist, thoroughly. It should not be a superficial question like, where are we going out for dinner tonight? It's something much more important than that. Atheists should know how certain they are that God does not exist. They should quantify their degree of certainty about that. And they should be able to tell why they do not believe in God. And they also should be able to tell theists why their arguments are bad. So in other words, atheists should be prepared to give a good defense of their worldview, and not just sit idly back on the sidelines saying, oh, that's not important, I'm not going to deal with it. So I think we agree on how important the question is. Again, I would say it's just a matter of degree. To me, there are other questions more important. What is the nature of the reality? What is the origin of human beings? Another really important question is, how do we find out the truth? How do we approach the truth? This is the area of epistemology, the methodology which we use to try to get to the truth. So those questions would be more important to me. But nevertheless, I will agree with you that it is an extremely important question.
I'm glad that you actually agree that it's an extremely important question. But I still want to push further. I will say it's not just an extremely important question. I will say, without knowing the existence of God, everything that you do in your life will ultimately be meaningless. I will say that the existence of God will bring ultimate meaning to everything, and non-existence of God will make everything ultimately meaningless, including knowing the truth that you care most. Question is like, okay, you want to really know about the truth, but that truth does not include the truth about the existence of God. And you study a lot, you search a lot, you learn a lot, and then what happens? You, and with your perceived truth, after a while, just turn to ashes and turn to nothingness. So what is the meaning of your even investigation of the truth? Because once you in the truth itself turn to nothing. So that's why I think it's really, if we really kind of examine our life and try to really see whether there is any meaning to anything that we do, ultimately, I know that you can have a kind of temporary meaning and do something for some temporary meaning, but I think for me it seems like if there is no God, I will say there is no meaning even to stay in existence. There is no meaning for me even to actually, if I know for sure that there is no God, and if I am certain on that one, I will really have difficulty to justify my life, because whatever I do will ultimately be meaningless. Why I will even stay in existence if everything's going to be meaningless for me? So that's why I think, yeah, the question of God, it should be the most important question for everyone, that who really examine their life. And after all, I really like Socrates. He said that an unexamined life is not worth living. I know some people out there, they really don't examine their life, they don't really ask such big questions, but I'm kind of inclined and agree with Socrates that really, if you don't examine your life and just live like in a machine or like in an animal, and I say, I don't want to have such life.
Furkan, you said, everything you do in life will be meaningless without knowledge of the existence of God. I would say that's preposterous. And let me tell you why. People create meanings, even though there may be no meaning imposed from the outside. So even atheists create meanings for their lives. They just don't all have the same meaning, but they create meanings. And so it's not essential to have a meaning imposed from the outside. I'd rather create my own meaning than having someone else create it for me. You talk about temporal meaning versus ultimate meaning. Well, I think what you mean by ultimate meaning is one imposed from the outside. In other words, if there's a God, then he has a purpose or objective or a mission for us, and we should try to find out what that is and go along with it. But if there's no meaning of that type, doesn't mean there isn't meaning at all. There's still meaning. There's meaning in the search for truth. In other words, every day I think to myself, what is the nature of reality? What is the real world like? What is true and false? So my life has meaning. That's an important meaning to my life. But nobody imposed that meaning on me. That's something I created for myself. And partly it comes out of our human nature, our instinct. So you also said if there is no God, there is no reason to stay in existence. I think that's preposterous also. Life can be enjoyable, meaningful, purposeful, even if there is no God. So I just disagree with you strongly on that point.
I think perhaps I can explain myself better through some example. What I mean by ultimate meaning is not imposed meaning, is the ultimate meaning of what we do. When we do, we as a human being, when we do something, we do for a certain purpose. If we do something which is completely meaningless, has absolutely no let's say no results, no fruit, we're not supposed to act in that way. We always try to set up a certain goal and actually do something for a certain reason. Now, when I say there's no ultimate meaning, I mean that whatever you do is ultimately nothing. So if whatever you do is ultimately nothing and turn to nothing, then why you even bother for nothing? Because you will become nothing, your accomplishment will become nothing, your discovery will become nothing, your knowledge of the truth will become nothing. So why you should care about nothing? What I mean by ultimate meaning that if what you do ultimately will turn to nothing, absolutely nothing. And if